Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning, friends. It's a pleasure to be back again this Sunday. And our speaker this morning is Mr. Santi Borgni. Uh, First of all, I want to extend a very warm welcome to Shanti for being with us today, and also want to thank him profusely for accepting our invitation to be with this group and talk on a theme which is climate change and mind change. Uh, Shanti has spoken before this group a few times, so I need not introduce him. But for those who are going to hear him for the first time, I'll briefly introduce Shanti. Shanti's association with Krishnaji's teachings is close to 4 decades now. He runs a house in nature in central Italy called Casa della Pace, where he has been organizing retreats right from 2001. And he also organizes silence retreats based on study and dialogue of Krishnaji. And this retreat continues for people who are interested and also for newcomers. Another thing that I would like to mention about Santi is that he's a big friend of Rajghat Center. And from last more than 1 decade, Santi has been financially helping the Achyut Patwardhan School through his friends and acquaintances. And that has been a great help in running that school, because it's a school almost which provides almost free education to poor children. So Rajghat Center is hugely grateful to Santi for this kind of help. With these words, I'll request Santi to please go ahead with his talk. And as usual, Santi, you can take as long as you want, maybe about 50 to 60 minutes. And after that, we'll open the uh, space for comments or questions to be asked. So thank you, Santi, once again. Please begin now.
Thank you, Dubey, and thank you, everybody. I'm glad to be here with you. I will start mentioning briefly what Krishnamurti was saying about society. I will read a very short quote from him. He says, we are what we have made of society. So we are society. That is a fact, not an exotic or stupid, irrational thought. We are society. Each one of us have made this terrible, confusing, contradictory, brutal society. And until human beings, each one of us, radically transforms himself, we will have perpetual wars. There will be no peace on earth. And he continued saying, facing all this, not abstractly, as a human being, what is he to do actually? Form another group, another religion, another institution, or as a human being become aware of his conditioning, be concerned with his conditioning and free the brain from that conditioning. Otherwise, we are going to have perpetual wars. There will be no peace on earth in spite of all the religions, in spite of every institution. It must begin with us, not with somebody else out there. So, is it possible to bring about a deep mutation in the very brain cells themselves? So, I think you are quite acquainted with these words of Krishnamurti, because he has been repeating this in different forms again and again and again over his, his many speeches. When Krishnamurti died, all the problem of climate changes, of climate crisis, was not there, was not still there, or at least it was not evident that it was there. So he was not talking about that, and we cannot know what he would have been saying about that. But in my understanding, and I will try to tell you why, climate change is of the same quality of wars, is violence, is a brutal attitude toward the nature and against human beings. I'm sure you are aware of what I'm talking about, the fact that the temperature are rising, and this is due to human emission of carbon dioxide. I'm not sure that you know the many layers of this problem and of this question. And I think it is necessary that we take a little bit of time to go into that, because it's a rather complicated matter, and not everybody is fully aware of the extent of the problem. So the first thing, the fact is this: the emission of carbon dioxide are increasing the temperature of the atmosphere and of the oceans. As scientists are saying, we're now 1 Celsius 0.1 warmer than the planet was before industrialization started in the 19th century. With this temperature, we know that there are already droughts around the world. I think in India as well. There has been many terrible wildfires in Australia, in Europe, and in other parts of the world. There has been extreme weather events in many parts of the world, as hurricanes and so on. There are floods, as in Pakistan. The sea level is rising, and the coral reefs are dying because of the warm temperature of the world. So coral reefs will disappear. They are doomed to die. This is absolutely sure, unluckily, and is terrible. There will be more suffering as the temperature will rise more. To remain, following the last report of the IPCC scientist panel, to remain under 1.5 Celsius is in practice impossible. It might be possible to remain under 2 degrees Celsius. I am speaking within the end of this century, but this is not likely to happen. It would happen if there would be a strong, deep change in the emission from now on. And apparently, this is not happening. Most probably, most of the scientists believe this is a forecast. This is something that is trying to foresee the future, and of course, no one knows what the future will be. Most of the scientists believe that the temperature will reach at least 3 Celsius, higher than pre-industrial era, before the end of the century. And beyond 2 Celsius, beyond the rise of 2 Celsius, no one can predict what will happen. We know that even staying within a rise of 2 Celsius will produce terrible suffering and terrible losses in terms of animal species, forest, terrible suffering on the planet. So it is a sort of a war against the planet. This is a fact. These are the facts. The facts are far more complicated than this, but I don't want to go too far into describing what is happening. Just the causes of this are human, but we have to see how it unfolded, how it developed along the time. Already in the 80s, there was a scientific evidence that carbon dioxide was going to rise the temperature of the planet. Fossil fuel companies like Exxon, they were aware of this in the 80s. They ignored it. They kept hiding the proof, the scientific proof of this, in order to continue business as usual. In the early 90s, was formed already the IPCC panel of scientists, and for the first time, it was officially and scientifically proved that carbon dioxide was warming the planet, and this was going to be an extreme danger for the survival of all species. When this happened, there was a strong movement of denial, and fossil fuel companies, they paid top-level scientists to spread doubts, negation, confusion, to prevent any action from the governments. This negation, this denial went on till about 2010, when it was almost impossible to keep denying that global warming was a fact and that it was due to human emission of carbon dioxide. During the last decade, during the last 10 years, the politics of big companies changed. They are not denying anymore the climate change. If you go to see the website, you will see words like sustainability, adaptation, and so on. What it means, if you go to see what it means, in fact, the use of those words, sustainability, you will discover that is just used to hide a business that wants to go on as always. In Exxon, they say that they use the word sustainability, and if you go to see what they mean that they intend to reduce of 13% the emission by 2030. That is nothing, is absolutely not enough. But if you go to see, because there is a note to that, they say this will happen only if there will be the condition that will allow that to happen. That means basically to develop the technology of carbon capture that till now has not been working, and so on. I mean, so they are again using a different politics, saying we want sustainability, we want to change and so on, but in fact, business is going on as usual. This is another aspect of the thing. Another facet of the same thing that we should take into account is that the 1% of the richest, the 1% richest of the world population is producing the same amount of emission as the 50% poorer of the world population. The richest countries has been producing emissions during the past century that are responsible for what is happening now, because carbon dioxide piled up in the atmosphere is not disappearing in a few decades, but it remains. And the richest country and the richest people are the ones that are dictating the policies for climate for the climate protection, for the mitigation of climate crisis. So they have really no interest in doing that, obviously. While the poorest countries, they have no voice in that. Another aspect that we should know and take into account is that behind the word adaptation and resilience, there is again a business. And the business is that rich people and richest country, knowing that the climate will change, that will be flood and so on, they're going to invest in order to protect themselves. So richest country will adopt measures to protect themselves, and they will invest on that. And this is called resilience, and this is called adaptation. Poorest country will be most probably cast off from all adaptation or resilience. They will suffer from famine, they will suffer from droughts, floods, and so on. So I think this is the scenario where we are in front at this moment. And in this scenario, there are evidently people that are suffering the consequences of climate crisis without having any responsibility on it, without having produced emissions and so on. And these are the poorest of the planet. While others, they are responsible for the emissions, and they are not really taking responsibility for that. Another side of the problem that we should consider is the fact that the less developed countries are asking to be refunded for the damage they have, but richest country are not at all willing to pay anything to poorest countries. So there is it is the same as if a rich person would throw the garbage on the garden of the neighbor and damaging his house and so on, and he would not want to pay anything for that or to recognize the damage that he has been producing to his neighbor. So these are all facts. It's not something that one is inventing. It's not something that is not real. It's well documented. And so I would say that this is violence. This is extremely brutal, the brutality of one part of humanity, that being aware of the damages they were causing to the whole of the planet and to the whole of humankind, they did and they are still doing in order to pursue their own profit. But it's not only this. The other fact is that the consciousness of human beings has been manipulated. As I was saying, negation has been spread, superficiality has been spread, not taking into account what was really going on has been spread by media and so on. And most of us has been taking all these very superficially. We had been quite happy to be manipulated, to be unaware of what was going on. So this is one thing that we should consider, that if on one side there are the minds that are lying, there are the minds that are greedy. On the other side, there are minds of the common, average person that wanting to keep the comfort as usual, not wanting to be disturbed, being hypnotized by the power, as always has been during human history. Human brains is prone to be hypnotized by the power of the churches, by the power of the governments, by the power of the richest, and so on. I think in India, with Modi, this is quite evident, isn't it? He's hypnotizing people with his power, with his personality and charisma. So this is another question. The question that we, average persons, normal people, we are manipulated and we are so gullible, as Krishnamurti was saying. So we don't have bright, clear mind. And we believe what is written on the media, we believe what is spread around without going into the depth of it. So this is another side of the problem. I believe another side is that while in a war, the cause of the action and the effect are evident. Someone is shooting and someone else is dying. Cause and effect is immediate, clear, evident. There is someone that is causing sufferance and someone that is suffering. That are women, children, kids suffering, fleeing from wars, and so on. Cause and effect are evident. Here is not the same. Cause and effect are not visible. To know the cause, we need scientist information. And this is something, the scientific information, that is not going to impact emotionally as someone that is shooting. There is no this capacity to make the relation between cause and effect in the same way than when the cause and effect are immediate. It is a way of working of the brain that is really deeply different from the way the brain works when we are seeing something immediately around us, we react immediately to the suffering of a friend or suffering of someone. Even if we meet someone on the road that we don't know, we would react immediately to that and we would provide help, or we would try to do something. But in this case, because the cause and effects are mediated by an information that is scientific, that is so far away from our everyday life, we don't feel that as real, or we don't feel that as a real connection. We can realize that intellectually, but deeply within ourselves, we are not feeling that there is a cause and effect there. So this is, I think, another of the problems, because in fact, there are no reactions from normal people. We are in a pot that is going to boil, and we are just adjusting to the temperature that is warming up slowly, slowly. I think I made quite a picture of the whole thing, at least the main things that I wanted to say to describe the scenario are these. So, facing all this, what is our response to that? We see that the widest response to this problem is technology. They say we need a better technology, we need renewable sources for electricity, we need to change cars and to turn to electric cars, and so on. We need a better technology. And what does it imply, a better technology? Better technology implies money, implies that some group of people, they know how to implement this technology, while the large majority of the population will just take it as we take computers and so on. So again, there is a gap between the normal average person and the ones that have power, technology, and so on. And furthermore, who is supporting this view? And it is the majority of the population, the majority of governments. The politics is going only in that direction of more technology, better technology, and so on. This imply that consumerism, to use the planet resources, will go on as always. We will have more and more cars, more and more clothes, more and more production, and so on. And so here there is another problem, because again, is this planet capable of supporting an endless production, endless rise in consumerism, and so on? And again, scientists, unluckily, are telling us, no, this is not possible. We are already using more than the planet is producing. For instance, the fish industries are fishing more fish than the seas are able to produce. So this is not sustainable anymore. Why? And in the same way, forests are more and more destroyed. And this is counteracting the climate crisis. If the forest would grow instead of being destroyed, this would counteract the effect of climate crisis. But this is not happening. So technology would be a partial response, but is not the response, because in the long term, it will not work. So what is there any other response to this? Very few, very few are talking of a philosophical response, or I would say what Krishnamurti was pointing out, a change of the mind. Because to speak of a change in lifestyle, it is at the end very superficial. Changing lifestyle that implies to be a bit more aware of our emission, to consume a little bit less, and so on, is not really a change. It will not produce a different humanity. So I would say that what is needed, if this could ever happen, and honestly, I doubt, but anyway, what would be needed is a human consciousness, is a humanity that is really able to care after everything, to be aware of the beauty of nature, of the deep sense of sacred that is all around us, the sacred that is in the forest, in the rivers, in the oceans, in the sunsets, in the sunrise, and so on. But humanity is so far away from a vision, from a consciousness, able to see this, to feel, to deeply perceive that that is a fact, is not just a romanticism. So I would say that if the change has to start with us, I would say obviously the change, seeing everything we have been sharing so far, the change is what we call wisdom. And for wisdom, I mean the capacity of being aware of the detail, from that detail to see the whole. Being aware that something is bad, to see that that bad little action will go to affect in a bad way the whole of life, the whole of existence. And if one sees that, one does not pursue that. One is stopping there, not going further. You know, in Italian, the word wisdom is saggezza, and this word saggezza is the same than to taste, assaggiare. The root is the same. So to taste a little bit will allow you to know the whole of of the plate, the whole of the preparation. You taste just a little bit, but you know the whole. This is the meaning of wisdom. Another meaning of wisdom, of the word wisdom in English, comes from the root to see. So seeing the whole. And seeing the whole, having just a taste of the whole and knowing the whole, implies not going through all the way of knowledge, through all the way of scientific proofs, but to have an immediate sense of what the thing is, what the whole is, without going through all the knowledge, through all the steps connected with scientific exploration, scientific knowledge. I'm not saying this to disapprove science, but I'm saying that, first of all, humanity was aware of how ugly was industrialization in its beginning. In the beginning of industrialization in England, it meant pollution, it meant extreme poverty, very bad life condition for workers and so on. So this was already something that was evidently not good. It was ugly. There was nothing beautiful in it. So why to act in a way that is not beautiful, not creative, not connected with the sacred of life? Because this is the point. So we can go through all the steps of knowledge, but this will not lead us to real action. And I repeat, I'm not saying this in order to deny science that is necessary and so on and so on and so on. But when I hear things as, just to give you an example, they say that nature helps kids to develop more attention. When a child suffers for lack of attention, for this deficit of attention that has been diagnosed as a disease and so on, they discovered through scientific research that taking the child into a forest and allowing him for some time into green and among trees and so on freely, this will improve his capacity to pay attention. So there was a need for scientific researches in order to understand that. We do not understand that being connected to nature is a need for human beings, that being in harmony with nature is something fundamental of the life of all species, included humans. I don't know. It sounds, at the end, it sounds stupid to need scientific proofs in order to understand what is already obvious, what we can see immediately without the need of that. Because scientific research, they take time, they take discussions, they take decades of discussion in order to reach a conclusion, as we have been seeing with the climate change scientific researches. It took decades of discussion in order to arrive to a conclusion. And while all the discussion was going on, the climate crisis was going on, and now is perhaps too late or almost too late to counteract it. So there has to be a different approach to that. That is not just scientific, not to deny science, but to say, what can I, a normal, average person, what can I do? This is the point, I think. I was saying the response is to be wise, to discover what wisdom means. But is this enough? because what is going on now, it might be the most dreadful crisis this planet has been going through from the era of the disappearance of dinosaurs. So most probably it's 5 million years that this planet has not been seeing a crisis like this one. And this is going to happen, not perhaps in our lifespan, but surely our children, they will face all this and they will have to do something if they want to survive. So it is something, I mean, it is urgent. Is really a crisis. It's not just words, it's not just information. So wisdom seems to lose, to not enough powerful to change things. And in the same time, we see that going on the street to protest, writing blogs and so on, in the same way, it is important. Activists are doing a great job, I would say. This young girl, Greta Thunberg, she has been amazingly capable to awake thousands and thousands of people to what is actually happening. She is amazingly capable to speak to powerful people in Davos, in European Parliament, in ONU, to speak to them and to tell them the truth, to tell them, you are stealing us our future. We are not doing what you were supposed to do there. So she did at the age of 18, 17, 19, as she is now. She spoke in a way that no one of us has never been spoken. And that is wisdom. So I'm saying there is a need of seeing the sacred that is in life, seeing it not as a concept, not as a romantic idea, not as something that we try to reach, but as something that is a hard fact. And out of that, out of meeting that is sacred, acting, living. So I am returning shortly again to Krishnamurti, reading another line from him. Before, you remember, he was saying, is it possible to bring about a deep mutation in the very brain cells themselves? It is a question. It is a question that I don't know how many of us took really seriously, because this is the moment to take it, to take these words seriously. It's not a joke. He says further, in becoming, there is uncertainty and instability. In nothingness, there is absolute stability and so clarity. That which is wholly stable will never die. Corruption is becoming. The world is bent on becoming, achieving, gaining, And so there is fear of losing and dying. The mind must go through that small hole which it has put together, the self, to come upon this vast nothingness whose stability thought cannot measure. So this is our challenge. Not just becoming wise, kind, respectful, polite, and so on. This is largely not enough. If this nothingness, if this change, mutation of the brain is not something real, is not something that we are putting all our energies into that, then whatever we will do will not be enough. We are facing something that is extremely brutal, extremely violent. The human beings are not even aware of that. Even the less, we have a sense of the sacred that is around us. Since thousands of years, there has been people as Buddha, as Krishnamurti, as Socrates, trying to point out the limits of thinking, the limits of knowing, trying to point out the need for a deep, profound change. And I think it's time, if humanity has to survive, for that change to happen. And it will happen only if each one of us will enter into the change, will touch that, will touch the sacred, will touch that vast nothingness that Krishnamurti is pointing out. So what is this nothingness? If one can say that, perhaps it makes no sense. But I want to say that the first thing is that nothingness is in having no opinion, is in destroying all opinion, in not relying on ideas, having a mind that is clean from opinions, is a mind that has cleared up conditionaments. And what we have been just reading, these not becoming, seeing that becoming is corruption. Corruption is becoming, Krishnamurti said. So, being steady in this not becoming, not ideas, it means being really related to what is around us. Being related to what is around us, it means care, it means to see, it means to listen, it means a radical, profound change from the wish of becoming something and the fear that is connected with that, to being stable, to be open to what is. I think I will stop here, and I would be glad to listen to your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Santi. Thanks a lot for
Thank you.
bringing this hard reality for us. And Krishna, in all his talks, used to say that if you lose contact with nature, you lose contact with humanity. But in our pursuit of happiness, the way we are playing with nature, we have reached a stage perhaps of no return. So unless we sincerely and truthfully work hard and adopt a completely different way of living, I think the problems of climate change which are before us will continue to have. And it will be surprising to know that China and US alone are responsible for 45% of the carbon emissions in the world. And countries like Russia, India, we are just following in their footsteps, improving the way of life. Otherwise, in India, there was a time where people used to worship nature, but things are changing. I think I'll stop here. Thanks again, Santi, for bringing in such vast realities. And I think there are two hands raised. We'll start with Dr. Harshad Parekh. Yes, sir. Unmute yourself.
Yes. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Santi, and thank you, Dubeji. I am here outside today, and so um, it is. I don't have a proper place to work, but I have listened very, very carefully to what Santi said, and it is a very good. Everything very clear. But the problem is that with the poor countries, many people don't have employment, and only with development, many people can get employment and they can get the food and basic necessities. So I think it is the responsibility of America and other developed country if they are able to reduce their consumption, live a very simple way of life, then maybe other countries can also join. So that is the main problem, that India needs development because there is a lot of unemployment. And about the myself, if I speak, like
Mr.
very
Bagni,
simple life and simple life, but I don't think that people will understand the beauty of simplicity. Even in India, I think the poor people wants to become rich and the rich people wants to become richer. So that human greed, that is not going to change. And probably that we may not be able to do anything. And there may be floods and all these natural calamities will happen, or nuclear war, and part of the humanity may go, and then only maybe there may be a peace, because it is very difficult for individual people to do something about this problem, which is very, very vast. And for individual, the challenge which Krishna ji is posing is very, very attractive to very, very few people. And even among them, I don't know whether they are able to come to that vastness or sacredness. So individually, Krishnaji's teachings are very, very good, but at the global level, I don't think it has much application. Okay, I have finished. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Harshad Bhai. Yes, Mr. Dinesh Waghmare.
Are you able to listen to me, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Santi, about wisdom. But this wise wisdom, you said that one has to be wise. Now, don't you think that this America or Russia or China, they are not wise or they are not able to see the problem? The question is with their intentions or even intentions of the world. People are not having vested, people are having vested interest or they are having malintentions and all that. So what is the solution to change the intentions? Because people are wise and this wisdom itself is a sort of transformation, as you rightly said, or mutation. So how to tackle this malintentions or the vested interest or people are after money and all that, and they want they are very much self-centered. So how to tackle this? What are your views?
It is a question you're putting.
Yes, yes,
Can I say something upon that?
yes, yes, please.
I think, you are absolutely right. Both Harshad and Dinesh. If the United States, they are not changing, no one will change. And United States and China together, they're producing, I think, half of the pollution of the whole planet. So it's obviously not the responsibility of the person in Varanasi to change that. But the question is, in my understanding, we don't know what will happen. Most probably what Harshad has been saying is absolutely right. There will be a catastrophic future. This is a fact. But this does not imply that we have to ask ourselves, what is the right action? The right action is not done because of results, because good or bad results. The right action is done because it is right in itself. And if there is the right action, then there is a fire in it. There is power in it. And we have to ask ourselves why there is no power in our actions, why there is no fire in our actions. I think this is the point. We have to start a fire and to be powerful. When there is the right action, then that is there.
Thank you, Santi.
Go on.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Pradeep Verma.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. For me, the basic question is, with what we are tackling or understanding today's topic, is it consciousness, which has been defined by Krishnamurti as content? Content means past, knowledge, experience, thought, etc. There is hardly any chance of resolving the present crisis, which is fast changing almost like virus. So psychological problems are becoming grave and complicated. A natural immunity is getting weakened globally, whatever their affluence may be. This is what I see. Then time and thought has not healed. To me, climate change is related to our concept of reality. J.K. said, what is not created by thought is reality. You see, as an individual, I can contribute by planting some trees as per the land and available water around. I can minimize the use of non-renewable energy at my level. Stop blindly following the colorful virtual world of the West, commercial world, synthetic world. This I can do to my capacities. Is it possible to observe without the word? Words have not done anything, but words could not do. No impact virtually. Is it possible to observe without the word? Can there be only the feeling without the word? The word being the environment, as J.K. said. So the feeling is very important, and it is, I think, feeling means sensitivity. The natural sensitivity in each one of us, which to a large extent is also conditioned and natural in us, inherent in us. But unless until we feel it, I don't think there is much individual can do. But even then, even my endeavor in my way around me, in my family and around, does have a definitely impact. Definite impact will be there. This is what I feel. Any comments from Santi is welcome.
So just to understand well, you are saying that you don't feel that you can have an impact, you and your family, you cannot have an impact on what is going on. This is what you are saying.
No, sir, I am saying, am I feeling it? All of us, are we feeling it? Individually as well as collectively. Feeling is important.
Yes.
Feeling
yes,
is important.
Yes.
That is
yes,
what I am saying.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quite agree with what you are saying, but I would like to go into what we mean with feeling. Because of course, we were saying that to act with beauty, to act in a way that is beautiful, that is good, that express goodness, is not something that is scientifically proved. We feel it. We cannot prove scientifically that our action is good. It would make no sense, really. We cannot prove that there is a beauty in a child. There is no scientific research about that. We feel it. We feel that a child is beautiful, that a child is sacred. So, but we have to be careful at the same time with the word feeling, because feeling, I mean, the communication, when we use this communication and we use the word feeling to communicate, feeling implies to fall in love, feeling implies to go to see a movie and to feel certain things and so on and so on. To feel implies something that might be really very superficial at the end. So, is there something that is beyond feeling? Because when we talk, I don't know, when we see a child and we see that there is something sacred in the child, there is something sacred in a tree, in a forest. We see that in a forest, the life in the ocean, the coral reefs, there is something sacred there. It's not a feeling. It's not just a feeling. It is a fact. It is something beyond feeling. So why we must go beyond words, beyond folks, but one must go also, I think, in my understanding, beyond feelings and touch that is real. Touch the sacrality that is in a child. It's not just when I feel or when I don't feel it. It is there, despite what I feel. The sacrality of nature, of this planet, it is there. It's not because I feel it or not. That's it. Sorry.
Thank you, Auntie. Yes, Anandji.
Morning to you all, sir. Most of
I think you have problem with your audio, Anandji.
what actually
Yeah, we cannot understand you.
There's problem in your audio. I think we can take Chaitanji now. Yes, Chaitanji, please. Unmute yourself.
Hi, Santi. Thank you so much for your very profound talk. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes,
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 Yeah.
we hear you very well.
Yeah.
I don't see you. I can't see
Hmm.
you, but anyway,
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. My video is on.
Yes, we can see you, Chaitanji. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just wondering if all our concerns about this climate situation, do they emanate from the fact that it poses a threat to us human beings? Do we really matter in the grand scheme of things? Do we see that there's a threat to all species, all forms of life, to trees, rivers, oceans, forests? Would we would we be so concerned if the climate crisis posed a threat to other species only and not to us? Is our concern emanating from some self-centered movement? And if it is so, then I doubt if we can go very far.
Yes.
Because you see, there's a political aspect to it, different narratives that people believe in, the developed countries blaming the developing or
sir.
what they call the least developed countries. Although the fact is, as both Dubeji and Santi, you pointed out that just 15% of the population of the, living in a few highly developed countries, they account for more than 50% of carbon emissions. That CO2 is a very long-lived gas, and its residence time is very long. Even if we had to, we stopped all carbon emission from this very moment, it would continue to cause damage. There are other gases apart from CO2 that can also contribute to this greenhouse effect. But all this, you see, you said at the outset that Krishnaji, perhaps something to the effect that Krishnaji perhaps didn't see this crisis, at least the magnitude of this crisis when he was giving talks and talking to people, but he did say many things. And one of the very poignant statement that he made was, which Dubeji also quoted, if you don't have a relationship with nature, you become a murderer. And he also said once that the man who kills a deer kills his neighbor. So I think we have failed to see the interconnectedness, not only among ourselves as human beings, because different countries having different perception about this issue, but our interconnectedness, interrelatedness with other forms of life also. And that is a major reason why climate crisis has reached such alarming proportions. In destroying the river, we don't see that we ourselves may get destroyed eventually. So as long as we are concerned about it, only because we see ourselves as the center of this universe, using the rest of the existence for our entertainment, consumption, amusement, our consumeristic, urges. I doubt, because you see, we talk a lot about IQ and EQ, but our nature quotient continues to be very low. And this is something that can be done. If children can be taught about this at a very primary level, they can be actually this kind of interconnectedness with other forms of life, which we think are other forms of life. If somehow this could be brought home to them, some teachers could sensitively and very, carefully explain to children, first understand it themselves. You see, I don't see that there's a lot of hope in the whole mankind, the way we are on a killing spree. I mean, we just kill almost everything, not only here in this country, but I mean everywhere. I mean, whales being killed in Faroe Island and animals being butchered for consumption, forests being destroyed in the name of development and agriculture. I mean, all kinds of destruction. There's nothing that we do without destroying. I mean, we destroy more than we create and construct. In India, there's a whole city which is on the verge of just disappearance in Garhwal region of Uttar Pradesh. The whole city may just subside and disappear because it has developed cracks. Hundreds of people will be evacuated. They have to be rehabilitated. I mean, we are more concerned. That's what I'm saying. I'm reiterating, because we think it poses a threat to us as human beings. We see ourselves as a very important, sitting on a throne as the monarch of all we survey. And we just don't see ourselves as one of the many species that live on this earth. And therefore, this lack of perception makes us just turns us into killers. We just do whatever we want to do, unless there's something which is posing threat. And then again, the developed people, the rich, they see the perception in their own light. The less developed see it in their own light. So then there's a blame game. A blame game starts. So it's very indescribably complicated. It's like the appalling inequality, like 21 people controlling the wealth of 700 million people in this country. It's something like that, it's a very terrible, almost indescribably complicated issue. And perhaps we can be aware, like, as you said, if the individual changes, that's a philosophical approach to this problem. But again, even those who are very seriously concerned might say that this is a very slow process. I mean, an individual changes and then thousands of individuals follow him because his is a right kind of living. But that doesn't help. I mean, Krishnaji was so sensitive that he even sought the permission of woods before he entered them. I mean, I've read somewhere that he used to be so sensitive that he respected the privacy and the sacredness of trees even. So before entering a dense forest, he used to seek permission. So that kind of sensitivity, and seeing that this river or the environment, it just doesn't belong to one country or one community, but to the rest of the world, because there is a interconnectedness. I think when Krishnaji talks about the mirror of relationship, he says that we are related to people, ideas, things, and nature, he says that we have to be correct in our relationship. So we have stopped being correct in our relationship. Because once we become an exploiter, then the relationship ceases to be correct. Then it is based on my perception of myself as a superior entity. And you are someone whom I can exploit, use to for my pleasure, and so on. I think that approach has to somehow end. I remember, maybe if you give me 2 more minutes, I would like to share a very...
Chaitanya, please be brief because there are other people who have raised.
Okay,
hands.
okay, then I'll stop right
Go
away.
ahead, go ahead and finish it. Go ahead and finish it quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, Gandhi visited Allahabad, and he just had his food. And Pandit Nehru, the first prime minister, he was pouring water on his hands so that he could clean his hands. And then somebody called from behind and wanted to have a word with Gandhiji. So Gandhi just turned around and started talking to that gentleman. In the meantime, Nehruji kept pouring water on his hands. And Gandhi said, Nehru, you should have stopped, because I was not washing my hands. I was talking to somebody. So Nehru said that, Gandhi, you are in Allahabad and we have 2 rivers here. We are not in the place from where you are coming. It's a very dry region, Vardha. And so this is a very, we have plenty of water. And Gandhi said, but the rivers are not for you, Nehru. They are for the whole of mankind. But that's, of course, such people have changed. They have perhaps radically changed their lifestyle, their approach to life. Just by following them, I don't think we can change it. So I'm not ending on a pessimistic note, but I think this is my realism that leads me to this belief that maybe there is hope in a few individuals, but not in the whole mankind. Maybe a few individuals can be in touch with the sacred or be in quest of the sacred, but not the whole mankind. Yeah, that's all. I'm sorry I took more time. I'm sorry, really.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you, Chaitanya. I think it has to start with individuals. That's the way I look at it. Yes, Anandji, I hope your audio is okay now.
Yes, sir. I'm going to have some problems here.
Yeah, please go ahead.
As Case says, not knowing the truth does not make you ignorant. Not wanting to know the truth is what makes one ignorant. So actually what is happening in the world is it's not the rich countries or the poor countries. It's not the rich man or the poor man. It is you and me. What we are doing is destroying the planet. Most of the scientists are talking about, again, the scientists are manipulated by the big corporates. They're talking about the fuel, which is consumed by the carbon dioxide, which produces the fuel, the coal and industries and things like that. But nobody's talking about the food what we eat. The food what we eat, the animal agriculture, the meat and dairy is a major factor for destroying the planet. The consumption of meat and dairy has gone so much that many countries, like Canada, is 48% of Canadians want to go for plant-based milk. Nestle has decided to go for plant-based milk. Germany has banned meat for all government functions. See, there are many people are doing something about it, but it is not being spoken about the animal agriculture because I don't want to change myself. I don't want to change my old habits. That is one of a major reason. If you and I reduce it by about 50%, the global warming comes down by 50%. Pope has requested the Christians or the world to reduce their meat consumption. Why don't we look at all these things? We are talking very profound things about nothingness and this and that. It is no, we don't have to go there. Krishnamurti, in most of his speeches, he said we are destroying nature. He says we are part of nature. If I destroy nature, I'm destroying myself. He says, why do you kill whales? Why are you killing seals? Why are you killing dolphins? He has mentioned in many places. And by 2040, the oceans are going to go empty. Most of us, sir, we are not aware that oxygen we think comes from the plants. 50 to 60% or more than that is coming from the ocean. We are not aware of it. It's not just only destroying the trees, it's also destroying the ocean. One whale is equal to about 2,775 trees, which you are not aware. Most people are not aware. You ask even the scientists, they are not, PhD people also, they are not aware of this. You ask where you get oxygen, they'll say from plants. So what is essential? Krishnamurti, in fact, has spoken in most of his speeches, sir. The most dreaded animal on the planet is man. He said, why do you kill to eat? Is it necessary? But today, the consumption of meat and dairy has gone, it's so high that it is impossible, even if you control your fuel and other things, it is impossible to bring down global warming. So we don't have to make it very profound. It is very simple, sir. You and I change our food habits. We are protecting our kids. We have no right to destroy our children's future and their children. It is you and me are the cause for the destruction of our future generations. How do I understand this? I want to read about Krishnamurti. I want to talk about love, but I can't do a simple thing like this. And I say, I love my children. I question that. So I question each and every one of us who are in this meeting and who read Krishnamurti. Do you all really love your children? If so, would you continue the same way you're being right now? Is a question, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Anandji. Thank you. We'll take the last question now. Yes, Verma sir.
Yes, sir. A few clarification about feeling. I was talking about feeling and sensitivity. That was in the context of perception of suffering. You see, climate change, how sensitive I am to feel it in my ecosystem, in my surroundings, and wherever I go, how do I feel it? So the feeling that way is very, very important. Sensitivity is very important. How to, the base of compassion is sensitivity, isn't it? Feeling and sensitivity, this is the base of compassion. How do I see? How do I see this world? How do I see this turmoil without feeling? So using feeling, word feeling was in this context. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you for.
Thank you, Verma sir. Shanti, you want to say something?
Yes, please. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Pradeep, and thank you, everybody, for what you have been saying. I see that sensitivity. I would make a slight difference between sensitivity and feelings. Being sensitivity, a capacity, a potentiality of being in relation with others, not transformed as very often feelings are. Feelings, I see feelings as the transformation through our conditionment of sensitivity. So sensitivity is the way we perceive immediately life, the others, and so on. And I would like also to add that it is true. I have been vegetarian all my life, so it is true that many of our actions has an impact on the whole planet in different ways. But I think it is also true that each one of us should be a fire. If we really see this, if we really see the danger we are going through, if we see how what is sacred has been destroyed, has been exploited, damaged, and if we see that this is not what we want, we see that this is just a fact that what is sacred cannot be destroyed. If there is a fire in us, all of us, I think we are getting quite old. I don't know the average age of this group, but I guess that it is over 60. So what is our responsibility to the next generations, to this world? I'm not saying do this or do that. It would be absolutely silly. Don't eat meat, I think, is a good thing to be done, but there are many things that should be done and might be done. But what I'm trying to point out is that there must be a source out of that comes. That source is the sense of the sacred, is love, is the sense of nothingness. And to me, is not intellectual, is absolutely not intellectual. If we meet actually that sense of nothingness, of being nothing, then we see what is the right relation with nature. What Chaitanya was saying before, this self-centered view of the planet, this anthropocenic, I don't know how it is said in English, this human center that watch nature as belonging to him. That is the Christian vision, by the way. This is the Christian vision. God gave all the plants and animals to human beings for his use. Until now, the Pope was saying the human beings must be the ones that are caring after animals and plants. And someone, Lovelock, by the way, the creator of the idea of Gaia, he was commenting, human beings are taking care of the whole of the planet as a group of goats would take care of a garden that is destroying him. And this is just the truth. So there must be something that is deep in us, and we are communicating that to others, being a center, being a fire, being passionate. If this is not there, then it becomes just dogmatism. Do this, do not that. But if that comes out of sensitivity, out of true compassion, then there is a difference in action. Action becomes powerful. I hope that this might be real, not just words. I hope we can meet and go deeper into all this. Meeting nothingness is not intellectual. Really, it's not intellectual. It has nothing to do with a concept. It's a fact. And out of that comes passion. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanti. I think very well said. Can we all be just fully aware of the situation that it exists now? I think from there some action will emanate. Very important. Sensitivity of being aware of the actual situation as it exists now. Thank you, Santi, once again for bringing a very important topic and discussing with us. We are all very, very grateful to you for being with us today. Next week on Sunday, we'll have Dr. Richa Sharma, and she will be talking to us on Krishnamurti's view of peace and education. So if you're free, please do join us. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dubey.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you.